Algebra 1, let's look at Unit 3, Lesson 12. So jumping in, boom, boom, and Lesson 12, homework. Okay, so today's a day where you're kind of putting everything together. You're using your commands. We're seeing that like means, a mean is an average, a median is the middle value, IQR is a measure of spread for a box plot, and standard deviation is a measure of spread for a dot plot. All right, so we're seeing measures of center and measures of spread. And so, yeah, we're just comparing them. All right, so Yona is interested in the lengths of online videos. There we go. Okay, so whatever. She found this data about the lengths of thousands of videos organized by category. So music videos versus gaming videos. All right, so the average length, 4.15 minutes versus 6.3 minutes. So the gaming ones are, they're 1.5 times longer than them on average. Standard deviation, though, the music videos are like spot on, nearly zero. So that means that there's hardly any variation from the center, while this 2.1 means that these vary by about 2 minutes over or below on average. So write a question. So write a question you could answer with the data. Yeah. So you could say like, which one has more consistency? Let's see what we got here. It says which category tends to have longer videos. Yeah, which one is more consistent? Which one's more variable? Any of those things. If we're given averages and standard deviations, then it's going to be measures of spread or center. So questions about those. Write a question you could not answer. Okay, so we couldn't answer what's the longest video. We don't have the median here. We don't have the median. What's the IQR? These are all things that we can't answer. What's the maximum? The minimum? The longest or the shortest video. We can't answer any of those. All right, so let's move on. Number 4. How do the lengths of music videos and the gaming videos compare? Well, I was just talking about them already. We answered that. Let's move on. My gosh, new problem. All right, so the table shows some stats about the points per game scored by the Chicago Bulls in 1978 to 2020. All right, well, this is while I was watching the Bulls. All right, so it says, no, because it's 1978 and the year 2020. So I was watching the Bulls in the 90s. All right, anyway. How has the number of points per game changed from 1978 to 2020? Okay, so points per game. So we're just looking at this. That means, all right, so the median, the middle value went up a little bit. The mean, the average went up a little bit. Okay, the standard deviation. Okay, so this is about 11. This is a little more than 11. They're actually just about as consistent, maybe a little less consistent. And the IQR, 15 versus 17.5. Okay, so in 2020, they are a little. Oh, I can't really type when I'm presenting like this. Otherwise, like my face goes away because I have keyboard shortcuts. But we could say that they're a little less consistent or a little more variable, or based on the IQR and the standard deviation. They're also, and we could say that their points per game went up a bit. It has increased, but even though it's increased over time from the 1978 team, they're a little more variable, meaning the higher highs might, points per game might be a little bit higher. These are still like pretty close numbers. So all right, cool. Let's move on. So, let's see. The box plot represents the yearly salary for the governor and all the governors in all 50 states. So we got 50 governors here. Okay. What do you notice about the data? All right. So let's get our movable line here and let's take a look at this. So we got $70,000 is the minimum, all the way up to $250,000 to be governor. All right. So $250,000 to be governor per year. And the median right here is a bouncing around that 150 mark. All right, a little slightly less than it, 125 here. All right, 170. Interesting. Yeah, so all right, when we look at this, it doesn't seem that like any of these are actually outliers. If I took this box length from here to here, 125 to 170, and I use that box, this is about one of those boxes here, and then another one. It doesn't seem like this one up here is an outlier. We'd have to do some math with that. 250 down to 170. Let's just double check it. Okay, so 250 minus 170. We got 80. Now, let's look at this. 170. So 170 minus 125. That's 45. So 80 divided by 45. It is. I got 1.7. So if we were to use this box plot and to use this box and stretch it once and then half a time, it would end up being somewhere around here, and this person would be an outlier technically. Going in the other direction, not so much. That's within there. So we do have one that's an outlier. What else could we say? We could talk about the minimums and the maximums. Yes, we could say that like right here in the middle, this is a typical governor's salary by using that median, or we could say 50% of the governors make between 125 and 170%, or we could say 75% of them make more than $125,000 or more. We could say 75% of them make $170,000 or less. Again, we can break it up into groups of 25% each. So there's a lot of things that we could say. I think this is the last one. Which job generally is assigned to do? So, and senators made $174,000. All right. So unlike governors, U.S. senators all have the same salary, $174,000 per year. Which job is generally has a higher? Now, because they're saying generally means we kind of want to look at a measure of center for this, the median or the average. So we have an average for one, all right, or because they all make the same amount of $174,000, that line, versus this one, the middle would be here. So we would say that in general, the senators make more because they all make the same amount. And that's an interesting one. That ends today's review, folks. Hope it made sense. Today's a day where you're using the numbers appropriately. In class, you had data sets and you're typing in your commands and getting used to using the commands to get statistics, and then using those statistics to say something about the data. Take care.